Hi, I'm Joel Schrank, voiceover talent and entrepreneur. We're well into the new year now, and I bet some of those New Year's resolutions are starting to wear a little thin, maybe getting a little old, not following up quite as well as you thought you might. So, how do you stay productive? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Simplifying concepts that really help you in life, relationships, and business. This is the Speaking Easy Podcast. So, number one, remove the distractions in your life. I think most of you know what I'm talking about. It's this guy, your phone. For most of us, we keep it close at hand. I was in a group once with a few people, and we were talking about what's the one thing you would never leave home without. And 90% of them said their phone. Because we are attached to the hip with these things, sometimes quite literally. We like to look at them. We like to look at social media. We like to look at YouTube. We like to just scroll the news. All sorts of different things that keep us from getting our work done. Now, it sounds simple to say, let's remove this distraction and maybe some other distractions you might have. But how do you actually do it? Well, your environment is key. Getting your work done, getting those New Year's resolutions that you want to keep going done, it's all about having the right environment, especially if you're trying to make some sort of a change, like a New Year's resolution, something you weren't doing before, or trying to make yourself be more productive than you used to be, which is also kind of a change. Getting your environment set up correctly is going to be the number one thing that will help you to do what you actually want to do. So this guy, the phone, I take it and I put it in a drawer. For me, that's actually enough. Some people might need to take it and put it in a different room. Just put it away someplace where you don't have it. It really is true that when it's out of sight, it's out of mind. Find some way to keep it out of your life for the time that you need it to be gone. Give it to your spouse. Put it someplace that's just far away that you're not going to be thinking about it or be tempted by it. So number two, make a schedule. Now that one may seem obvious as well, but if you've never lived off of a schedule, it can actually be a little bit tricky to put together. To me, scheduling is kind of like budgeting. You may need a couple of months of having an imperfect budget to see where your money's going before you can kind of fine-tune things and actually make a budget that directs your money the way that you want it to go. The same is true with scheduling. You might have an imperfect schedule for the first little while. It might take you some time to see, when is it best for me to do this activity? When is it best for me to do this other activity? For me, I find that my brain is most active and most ready to do work in the morning, and so I try and put, maybe somewhat counterintuitively, I actually try and put for me the most mundane tasks in the morning, because my brain, while it's ready to do work, it's also able to focus more in the morning time. And sometimes I find that if I give myself more creative and more interesting tasks later in the day, it refocuses my brain into those interesting tasks rather than doing something mundane that I'm just going to fall asleep doing in the afternoon, to be perfectly honest. And so, and it may be different for you, but it takes time of trying things and seeing what works in order to make a schedule that really is going to work for you. And another tip that I found recently is don't just make a cookie cutter schedule every day. I fell into a problem where I had a schedule. I thought I had it all set up. I was doing it actually using my phone. I used the calendars in my phone, and I've got a watch that notifies me when it's time to go on to the next thing. And so I still could keep my phone put away, and my watch would kind of buzz as a notification because it's connected to my phone and let me know, okay, now it's time for me to move on to the next thing. Well, the problem that I found is that I just made these auto schedules where it was just the same thing every day, or even the same thing every week. It was slightly different every day, but it was still just the same every week. And I started falling into a pattern of ignoring my schedule. Because I wasn't actually looking at it on a daily basis and making changes based on what was going on during the day or what specific things I might need to get done that day, I just kind of ignored it and did my own thing and fell back into a habit of just not really having a schedule at all. And so instead, at the end of every day, I take about 10 minutes, it doesn't take very long, to schedule the next day. And I actually do it on a daily basis. I look at it and I say, okay, what do I need to get done tomorrow? And there are a lot of things that are the same every day, but there are some things that are slightly different. And to be honest, just entering it in every day makes me about 90% more likely to actually do it. I think there's something to be said about actually physically putting stuff in and making your schedule every day, rather than just having it set up on repeat and trying to do the same thing every day. So I would suggest making a schedule at least every week, if not every day, creating a new schedule that you're actually writing down. You can either do it at the end of the day or at the end of the week, or if you find it simpler for you to do it at the beginning of the week or at the beginning of each day, just take 10 minutes and write out what it is you want to do. And find whatever scheduling tool works best for you. Like I said, I use my phone and it links to my watch, and that lets me know when it's time to go to the next thing. There's usually also calendars that you can find on your computer, like on Microsoft Outlook, and I'm sure there's other things that you can download that are specifically designed for scheduling. And some people like to use a pen and paper. So whatever works best for you. And again, that might take some trial and error as well. With scheduling, as with most things in life, don't expect it to be perfect right off the bat. It takes time for you to get into the groove and figure out what works for you. And that takes a lot of trial and error. And third, take some time every day for yourself. It may seem somewhat counterintuitive for productivity to take some time away from work, but I've found that in order to stay productive, I need to have that self-care time. For me, that may be going for a run or doing a workout, or taking 30 minutes to close your eyes and get a power nap if it's been a really exhausting day. But you'd be surprised at how much that little time away can actually help refocus your brain so that you're ready to do more work. I think that's one of the problems of our culture today, is that we just want to work ourselves into exhaustion, and you end up not being as productive by doing that. And so I like to be intentional about taking time for myself on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And of course, you can build that into your schedule as you get used to doing that. So for me, on a daily basis, I like to take 30 minutes a day just for myself to do something for me, like I said, a workout or just watching a YouTube show or something like that. And then on a weekly basis, I like to take a little bit more of an extended time, once a week, maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday when the kids are napping. I'll go outside and work in my garden, maybe do a little bit of a longer workout if I want to take some real time and go for a longer bike ride or a longer run, take an hour and get away from the house. And then on a monthly basis, I like to take some self-care by going out on a date with my wife. And it's important to remember that self-care doesn't just mean being by yourself. In fact, for most extroverts, self-care really means being energized by being around other people. So just like with scheduling, just like with pretty much anything in life, it's going to take you some time to figure out what self-care strategies work best for you. Maybe you're going to find that you need daily alone time, but you want some intentional weekly time with your spouse, with your family, with your friends. Whatever works for you. And also recognize that it can change depending on the season of life that you're in. My wife and I just had a baby, another baby, and so for me, self-care at the time kind of looked like rocking with my baby for 30 minutes in her bedroom and just sitting in the rocker, just me and her taking some quiet time. And so for me, self-care was actually kind of still doing work, but it was doing work that I enjoyed. And so you can remember that too. Sometimes self-care for me is going out and doing some yard work in our yard or mowing the lawn, because I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. It's just important to find what you enjoy and make sure that you're making intentional time on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to get that done. Well, I hope that this has been helpful to you and that you can find some ways to be more productive by removing those distractions, scheduling, and taking some intentional self-care time. If you did find this helpful, I hope you'll like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time.